and at Perth East. And then we'll be talking about goals for 2025 and beyond when it comes to accessibility initiatives, both in your community and then the Perth County community at large. We'll also have some time at the end for questions. Both Jamie and I are on the line and available. We'll do our best to answer the questions tonight, but if there's something that we need to go back and research, we're more than happy to do that. And we can bring back that information through Clerk Carter as well. Okay, so just a reminder, our governing legislation in terms of accessibility and why we're here tonight is the Province of Ontario, the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. The AODA is sort of our guiding legislation in terms of all of the things that we have to do when it comes to accessibility at the municipality and your municipality as well. Under that legislation, there is a mandate that we have to review and update our accessibility plan at least once every 5 years. You may recall my colleague Tyler Sager and I did a sort of a larger tour and a larger update of that all-encompassing plan a couple years ago in 2023. Subsection of that legislation is that we're required by the province as well to complete an annual update to report on the progress of those initiatives and that plan to date. So that's why we're here before you, why you'll see us returning year over year with a very similar presentation. It's just to make sure that we're meeting all of the planned initiatives that we had in our guiding overarching plan to begin with. Okay, so like I said, Jamie is on the call. She is actually in 2024, a part of her portfolio here at the county was to administer the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee. So she did a lot of work clerking with that committee and working back and forth and pushing their initiatives forward. She's going to give you a quick snapshot of what they've done in 2024 and sort of what they're working on in 2025. Just a reminder, that committee as well is actually mandated by the province of Ontario. That's something that we do have to have, and it's a joint committee. So there are members from Perth East that sit on that committee with lived experience when it comes to disabilities and viewing things through an accessible lens. So Jamie, I'll let you take it away on this slide.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Through you, Mayor, as Rachel said, the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, it's made up of members from our community with representatives from each of the lower tiers, just to make sure we're kind of getting everyone's perspective on that. So every year we meet between 8 to 10 times, depending on the work that the group is doing. In 2024, we had a total of 8 regular JAC meetings. And then we did actually develop a working group through the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee last year. So that group was created with the intent to work on 2 projects, the first of which was reviewing bus stops throughout the county for accessibility. They did focus on the rural route, which we know has now since been discontinued, but through that project, the committee created a really good document for kind of what to look for in terms of developing accessible bus stops and just considerations to have in place. So that tool, it does still exist in the event that something changes in the future. It's good to have on hand. And as of right now, kind of the end of 2024 and now moving into 2025, the working group is in a research gathering phase to look at the possibility of implementing a stopgap initiative across the county. So that's kind of what they're working on now. And depending on what happens with that, you might hear more about it. We'll see. I wanted to also note we do complete site plan reviews, and we had quite a few, I think, from Perth East in 2024. So basically we get those site plans and then we create a subcommittee that's made up of members from the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, with at least one person on the subcommittee being from that lower tier. And then we will kind of create a feedback report and send that back to the building department of the lower tier, just to kind of, again, look at that lived experience and through that lens of people who are living with disabilities every day. And then just one last thing to note, last week was National Accessibility Week. It's usually kind of the last or second last week in May every year. And there's always some good information that comes out around that with an AODA toolkit. And this year, our Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee actually wrote a letter to the community, and that was circulated through our media contacts. So you may have seen that. Just some really good stuff in the works this year and really good work last year as well. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Jamie. Just a reminder that the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, while it's held at the county level, they're always available and more than willing to provide their perspective. If you have staff that are working on projects that it might be important to have that sort of lens of accessibility, the committee members are always available and very engaged and excited to provide feedback. So reach out anytime if you'd like to utilize them as a resource. Okay, diving into the accomplishments. So we're starting at the county level here. 2024, lots of great work done by staff in terms of accessibility initiatives. of course, both on the physical and actually on the digital side in terms of accessibility. So talking about 2024, our staff pulled down all of the content on the website and actually remediated all of it, making sure that it's all accessible before it was re-uploaded back onto the website to that WCAG 2.0 standard. This was completed in time for the January 1st, 2025 deadline, and we did report to the province that we're fully compliant in that way. We also saw, of course, the majority of the new renovation build being completed at that 1 Huron, 5 Huron. It's now just 1 Huron because of the link, but majority of that physical renovation took place in that space in 2024, including some accessibility features being installed in there, like an elevator. We've got some different counter heights in there. We have some power doors, and there's actually a ramp that goes between the two buildings in that link area as well, making that building just that more accessible to staff and to public that are visiting. Archives also make significant progress on their digitization project for historic newspapers from hamlets and villages of today and past. This allows for greater access in person and online. Anyone who's using a screen reader or any type of digital technology to access that information, they're able to use that now with the digitized versions of those newspapers. Finally, staff provided some training sessions to the county and to lower tier staff. One of those specifically focused on hosting accessible events and meetings. Where are we headed at the county level in terms of accessibility in 2025 and beyond? We're looking at continuing to work with staff and departments as we ourselves start to physically move into that new space at that 1 Huron renovation. So we're working closely with staff and departments to make sure that the space is not only functional, but that it is operational in terms of accessibility, that it's accessible for staff who are moving in there. And if not, we're making those adjustments to ensure that everybody feels comfortable in those new workspaces. Planning staff is also working diligently to update their applications and forms that can be found online to ensure that they're accessible both at the county level, and they're also working with your building departments as well to make sure that those forms are accessible at the lower tier level as well. Finally, the county is offering some additional training in 2025. My colleague on the line tonight, Jamie, she actually just completed an accessible document training in May. That recording has since been circulated with the clerks all across the county, so that is available if you're interested in learning more about remediating documents or creating accessible documents. That is now available in your toolkit if you would like to learn more. Okay, moving into the Perth East side of things. So your staff reported to us some really great stuff that they've been working on both in 2024 that they completed and then that they're working on in 2025 as well. Again, thanks to Ashley Carter for gathering all this information and submitting it to us. At Perth East, you saw as well a website update with some built-in accessibility features, including an accessibility checker, and you made some appropriate changes to your website just like we did, probably in time for that January 1st deadline. You created new AODA compliant sidewalks in a couple different community areas throughout Perth East, which is great to see. You also saw the construction of an accessible trail from Greenwood Park to G Trail, which makes that community space and that recreational trail that much more accessible to your community. And then finally, your public library noted that they've added internet access kits and a CPEN reader for circulation for better patron usage. And that CPEN reader is actually specific for people who have disabilities and may require that to read books or to use the tools that are, you and I may be able to use at the library without thinking about that extra tool. Your staff is also reporting some great work that's happening in 2025 and beyond. So your staff are looking at supporting the replacement of an accessible bus in 2025, which is great to see. That will be through the administration of the provincial gas tax funds. Again, making transit and transportation just a little bit more accessible to those in your community is really, really great to see. Your public library is planning to add some additional shelving to ensure that the collection is more readily available to any of those people who are accessing it on a day-to-day basis. You as well are undergoing a website design, including some accessible standards and keeping in mind optimizing all of that content to make sure that it's accessible as you do that new design and update. And then finally, I really loved this point. It seems so simple, but it is a really, really great example of how you can make interviews more accessible. Your staff are looking at offering blank notepads and pencils to interviewees to allow for note-taking during interviews should they wish to do so. Again, just increasing the overall accessibility of your employment and your hiring. Okay, we won't take up any more of your time. Like I said, both Jamie and I are online. We just want to thank you and your staff for your diligent work on making our community more accessible. It affects all of us, and we really appreciate you and your time tonight. So with that, we are available for questions.
Sorry. Council have any questions? Okay. Thank you for the report. It was a great report, and looking forward to a great report next year. Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you very
evening.
much. Have a great meeting.
And that the Council of Perth East received the Joint Accessibility Plan Annual Status Update 2024 presentation and report from Jamie O'Leary, Legislative Assistant, and Rachel Cannon, Legislative Service Coordinator, Deputy Clerk for the County of Perth, for information, and that the Council approved the Joint Accessibility Plan Annual Status Update 2024, and that Council directs staff to post the Joint Accessibility Plan Annual Status Update 2024 on the Perth East website. Could I have somebody move that? Amanda, seconder. Andrew, all those in favor? Okay, for our next public presentation, we have Justin and Ricky from the Economic Development Office at the County of Perth. So whenever you're ready, gentlemen.
Great. So thank you. Through the Deputy Mayor, I think our presentation should be coming up momentarily. This red light is on.
Yeah, the red light's on.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so while the presentation is coming up, just as mentioned by Deputy Mayor, Justin Diaz, Economic Development Officer with Perth County, and I'm pleased to be joined with Ricky Zhao, who is our Tourism Officer. So Ricky has been with the county for a number of years in a variety of positions, and is currently serving as our contract tourism officer while our tourism officer is on maternity leave. So pleased to have him join me tonight, speak about the tourism aspects of things. So while the presentation is being loaded, just kind of a quick update. So the report that we provided within the agenda highlights both the project initiatives that have been completed, are underway, or planned for the rest of the year. The goal of that is to keep council and stakeholders informed and engaged as partners as we deliver on our priorities identified by County Council, as well as those identified within our Perth County Economic Development and Tourism Strategic Plan. We can have a quick slide about our team. So as mentioned, our team consists of myself, Ricky Zhao is Tourism Officer, Meredith Bourget, who's our Director of Economic Development and Tourism, as well as we also have 3 summer students joining us this year. Perfect, the presentation is there. Excellent. If you go to the next slide, please, that would be great.
You can do it on your clicker too.
Awesome. Thank you. Excellent. There we go. So we are pleased to have 3 summer students joining us this year. Olivia, Aaron, and Paige. They are with us for the summer to support our tourism and economic development initiatives, and hopefully you will see them out and about around the community, visiting businesses, participating in events, and sharing all the great resources we have within the county. Oh, sorry, and I should have also mentioned, not pictured on the screen is Shannon Landreth. So she's recently joined us as a contract economic development officer, again for the summer, as we are kind of in the middle of 2 maternity leaves in our department. So not pictured, but will be joining us as on a contract over the summer to assist again with our initiatives. So our priorities here, so they are identified within our Perth County Economic Development and Tourism Strategic Plan, and they really are the guiding point for our report, as well as the presentation that we're delivering this evening. So business retention and expansion. So this really is at the center of everything we do within our economic development division, and it's all about supporting existing businesses and attracting new businesses and industry to Perth County. So the report outlines a wide variety of projects and initiatives within this area of business retention and expansion, and also highlights our a number of initiatives that we have planned for this year. One that I'd like to highlight, and which Ricky handed out, I believe, at the beginning of the meeting, was our Prosper in Perth County guide. So this is really designed to be a one-stop shop for businesses to really outline the various program and services that we offer, really kind of a menu of sorts to, it speaks to our business tours, our business features, our People of Perth County series, the access we provide to other regional partners, whether it be Stratford First Center for Business, the Perth CFDC, the resources we can provide with regards to workforce development, tools, free training, and more. So it's really designed to help be a conversation starter, or something we can deliver to businesses as we enter, really highlight all the services we provide and make sure that they're aware of them so that they can take advantage of them. So we're really pleased to have that as a new resource that, again, we lead with when we go to visit businesses, and hopefully with the copies you have this evening, we can also make those available to any businesses that are interested. So on the business attraction side, I'll just quickly speak to that. So again, within the report, we kind of highlight our business attraction efforts. Primarily, these are focused on our investment attraction through our partnership with the Southwestern Ontario Marketing Alliance, as well as it's supported by funding through our Can Export Communities initiative. So through the partnership we have with Southwestern Ontario Marketing Alliance, through funding we received from Invest Can Export Communities, this is really what fuels our economic development and business attraction outreach. So that helps provide our team with a steady supply of qualified leads of businesses looking to come to Ontario. So people and workforce, as well as workforce mobility, have kind of grouped a few things together here on this slide, but really these priorities are focused on supporting our local employers with their workforce needs. So this involves helping businesses attract and retain workers through tools like our Workforce Attraction Retention Employer Toolkit, training for their staff, so offering training opportunities to their staff, as well as resources for employers, things like our Work and Perth County tools, which have information on regional jobs, work information, as well as the job map. So through these tools and through partnerships we have with our local school boards, partners, employment and other employment service providers, really the goal of all the initiatives listed in the report are to make sure our employers have the employees they need with the skills they need to fill the jobs that are available, as well as to support job seekers finding those jobs. So I guess in regards to workforce mobility, I know we spoke briefly, or the previous report spoke about the PC Connected Rural Route. So obviously that service is no longer running, but that as a pilot project, there was a significant amount of data that was gained through that project in terms of ridership, transportation demand. So that information is still available. We are providing it to any partners who asked for it, so we're making sure that all that information that was generated through that pilot project is being shared and hopefully being utilized as others look to fill transportation gaps. With that, I will pass things over to Ricky to speak on tourism initiatives.
Thank you. And through the Mayor, just want to highlight that this week is Local Food Week, and just in time for Local Week, we will be distributing 60,000 Explore Perth County tourism brochures that with 2 local hotspots, visitor centers, municipal offices, and key tourism destinations, both locally and in target markets, which I've kind of also spread out for you there. This refresh edition puts Perth County's deep agricultural roots in the spotlight with vibrant visuals, inspiring itineraries, and updated content to help you plan visitors' next rural getaway or hometown adventure with ease. Several strategic marketing campaigns are currently underway. We are currently working with a number of social media creators. We have also bought a full page ad on the Globe and Mail Explore Ontario Summer and Fall edition, along with several advertorials highlighting Perth County. We continue to promote extended visits to theater goers through the Stratford Festival, and we have utilized the Summer Fun Guide and En Route Plaza's travel information centers, as well as other major attractions and hotel across the province. And these are just a few snapshots, locations of our marketing efforts. New this year, as part of our Red Shareable Moments project, you will find 10 photo frames and 3 custom photo ops throughout the county. In Perth East, we have Anna Mays, Lynn River Farms, the Perth Farmhouse, and TNT Berries as those photo frames. We have also given, yes, sorry about that. And we have also engaged with shop classes from the Avon Mainland District School Board to construct 10 farm stands, which will be offered to all farm gate participants and will be distributed to those who are interested. Signature experiences. We continue to work closely with businesses developing future signature experiences. Our Discover More Signature Experience program provides expert one-on-one guidance, content creation with a professional content creator, professional photography and videography, ongoing marketing effort, promotions, and campaigns to Perth County businesses looking to create or enhance an immersive experience. Late last year, staff designed a signature experience program guide, which I presented. And this guide is a practical resource designed to help businesses develop, refine, and evaluate unique experiences that reflect distinct character of Perth County. Whether you're looking to enhance an existing activity or to create something entirely new, this guide walks you through the key considerations to help ensure your offering is engaging, authentic, and market ready. This guide includes step-by-step prompts, best practices, and examples to support businesses in identifying their unique story, defining target audiences, align with seasonal opportunities, and integrating booking or promotional tools. Encourages a thoughtful approach to creating experiences that go beyond products or services, offering visitors hand-on and memorable moments that build deeper connections with local people, places, and culture. The goal is to support operators in turning great ideas into bookable, high-quality experiences that not only attract visitors, but also celebrate what makes our region special. That being said, I will turn back to Justin.
Great. So thanks. Just to finish up, looking ahead kind of over the immediate term. So I wanted to highlight for council here an upcoming event that we're hosting over at Lynn River Farms. So we're calling it Rooted in Success. So this is an agribusiness and networking event. So the idea is really to bring together producers, businesses, entrepreneurs around the table, and an informal opportunity to share ideas, collaborate, build connections. There will be some fireside chats happening about those collaborations that have happened, highlighting kind of some of the innovative things that have been done here in Perth County, as well as some information on content creation for small businesses. So that's an upcoming event. Again, it's June 25th, 3:30 to 6 p.m. It's a drop-in event, so you can come for a while or come for a whole time. Welcome you to come whenever you can. And look forward to welcoming some of you there. As well, another upcoming event to mark your calendars for would be the Experiential Tourism Training Workshop. So any business, as Ricky mentioned, that's looking to develop a signature experience or an experience on their business to help attract visitors. This is the second workshop we've offered that is really about helping to offer some hands-on practical training to help to get to that point. So that is on September the 15th, I believe. So that's something to share with interested businesses who want to become part of our program or just wanted to increase their ability to attract visitors. So a couple of upcoming events. Also hoping to share some more information on a few business tours we have upcoming. I don't have confirmed dates, but that's something I will share with the council. We do have them. Yeah, we're looking forward to launching a 2025 business tour program a little bit later than usual. I know businesses have been many of them preoccupied with other things, so they haven't been as available as they would in previous years. But again, look forward to sharing some of those dates with council in the very near future. And again, just highlighting on the tariff environment and some of the issues that we have there. So our tariff and Perth County Business Impact Survey remains open. It really is an ongoing survey for businesses to share with us confidentially challenges that may be facing. If there's something that we can pass on and advocate for on their behalf, they can do that anonymously, or if they're attach their name to it, so we can follow up. And that really is helping us inform some of our program. Lunch and learns that we're offering, webinars, and sharing information on funding, support businesses impacted by tariffs. So that survey, as well as many partnerships and committees that we're in, featured on the screen here and more in the report. Make sure that we're at the tables where businesses are talking about their challenges so that we respond. Right? So maybe I'll stop there and welcome any questions. Appreciate the opportunity.
Did council have any questions? No questions? Anyway, great update, and you gentlemen, and enjoyed the rest of your evening. And a resolution that the Council of the Township of Perth East received the presentation and Economic Development and Tourism 2025 update report from Justin Diaz, Economic Development Officer, and Ricky Zoe, Tourism Officer for the from Perth County for information. Well, moved by Amanda, second by Jerry, and all those in favor? Passed. Okay, there's no other presentations, delegations, public meetings, planning and development. That'll be, you're going to be doing that, Jeff? Okay, come on up and go right ahead.
Thank you. So the consent application is B09-25. It was submitted by Paul Robinson on behalf of Judy and Roger Gerber for the lands known as 12 West Street. Applicant is proposing to sever a portion of the 12 West Street, and they're intending to add that to 5 Mill Street West. The rear portion of the lands extends into 5 Mill Street and creates an irregular lot fabric. That portion is designated as commercial in the Milverton official plan, and the front portion of the land is designated as residential. The lands to be severed have a lot area of 374 square meters, and the lands to be retained have an area of 732 square meters. Lot addition would create a linear retained lot that is consistent with the adjacent residential properties. Public notice was provided to the neighboring property owners on May 9th. At the time of writing the report, no comments or concerns have been received from the public or from other public agencies. Front portion of the subject lands is designated as residential and supports a range of housing types and aims to maintain an attractive and enjoyable living environment. The rear portion of the lands is commercial, and it aims to support a compact, well-defined commercial core and minimize conflicts with adjacent land uses. The proposed severance assists to clarify the boundaries between the residential and commercial land uses, supports a compact and orderly commercial area, and by realigning the lot boundaries to reflect the current and planned land uses more accurately, the proposal supports the efficient use of the land, the infrastructure, and contributes to the continued viability of the core. So as a result, planning staff are supportive of the severance application, subject to the recommended conditions of consent approval being fulfilled. Available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jeff. I believe Paul Robinson is on. If anybody on council would have any questions, or if Paul would like to add anything. It looks like his hand is up, so go ahead, Paul.
No, I just wanted to make myself available to council in the event that they had any questions that needed my assistance.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on this? Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah, not so much question. I'm in favor of moving this to the Land Division Committee. Just curious, maybe Mr. Robinson may not be able to tell us, or Jeff, does this mean something's about to happen with this property? I know it's been sitting there for a lot of years and a lot of discussion around what's going to happen. I'm just curious if there's something coming to us in the future. Answer that.
Paul or Jeff?
Sorry,
Go ahead, Jeff.
Answer. Yeah, we've had some discussions with the landowner, but Paul's probably better versed what the development proposals might be.
Paul?
Yeah, I don't think the landowner has any short-term development interest, but I think he has some ideas in the works that he probably doesn't want to publicize right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
No more questions? Okay, that the Council of the Township of Perth East advise the Land Division Committee or its designated authority that the Township of Perth East supports application file D13B0925PE submitted by Julie and Roger Gerber for lands described as Plan 363, Lot 289, Lot 305, municipally known as 12 West Street, subject to the following conditions. Per these conditions, the letter is provided by the clerk of the township of Perthes advising the secretary treasurer of the land division committee that all requirements of the township of Perthes financial service and otherwise have complied with. That confirmation be received from the township of Perthes that the appointment schedule for municipal drains in this area be reviewed and updated to the satisfaction of the township of Perth East in accordance with section 651 of the Drainage Act RSO, and that the applicant will be responsible for all costs associated with this reappointment. That confirmation be received by the township of Perth East, that the lands be retained and the lands be severed have been appropriately rezoned. Perth County conditions, that confirmation be received from the solicitor that a certificate of official will be scanned and attached to the electronic registration of the transfer. That the land division committee be provided with a description that is consistent with the application and equal to that required for registration of a deed transfer or other conveyance of interest in land under the provisions of the Registry Act or Land Titles Act, 2 copies of registered reference plan required, and an electronic file containing the digital plotting of the description under the provision of the Registry Act or Land Titles Act, including the textual description of file format, map standards, use, scale, and location, such as lot, concession, and municipality, and georeference AutoCAD drawing format. And alternately, the committee be provided with the order pursuant to section 150 of the Land Titles Act, RSO 1990, or section 80 of the Land Registry Act, RSO 1990, issued by Land Registry, exempting the transfer from the requirements that a reference plan be deposited. It is determined that the property is a whole lot on an original township plan of survey, and an exception order cannot be provided by a land registry. Satisfactory proof of same shall be provided by a solicitor with confirming, stating the reasons why an exemption order cannot be provided. 3, that a solicitor undertaking shall be received, which shall be to the effect that at the time of the registration of the transfer to which the certificate under section 53/42 of the Planning Act 1990 is affixed, and names of the owners of the abutting land to which the parcel is being joined is the same as the transferee in the said transfer. That a solicitor undertaking to be received by the county of Perth to the effect that the severed parcel be added as a whole addition to the abutting parcel described as West Part Lot 45, Concession 3, Milverton Township of Perth East, and that section 53 or 5 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, shall apply to any subsequent conveyance or transfer of the severed parcel, and the certificates under section 53/42 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, shall contain references to this stipulation. That confirmation be received from a solicitor that the resultant lot, severed land, and the land to which it is being added will be encumbered by any mortgages as one lot at the time of registration of transfer, that there are no outstanding mortgages or encumbrances on the land to be consolidated. That an undertaking be received from a solicitor that the severed parcel and benefiting lands will be consolidated under land titles onto one PIN. That an understanding be received from the solicitor that the lands be retained will be consolidated under land titles onto one PIN. Could I have a mover and a seconder for that? Amanda and seconder. Bob, all those in favor? Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Enjoy your evening. Okay, now we'll have Report from the CEO on Bill 17.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just a quick summary, I guess, as it relates to the report. I think it's fair to suggest that staff, not just in Portneuf, but kind of across the province, are getting a little frustrated with the annual changes that are coming. It seems like a rapid fire approach. Bill 17 being recent, Bill 5 is quite recent as well. Lots of changes that are geared towards more housing and meeting the province's 1.5 goal. In reviewing the Bill 17, I think there's some fear amongst staff and self in particular, in that the province seems to be looking for ways to reduce costs associated with development for the developers. And at this point, it's unclear to me, and I think to most, as to where that gap is going to be filled in terms of where the dollars are going to come from to build the infrastructure that supports housing. We all know that housing requires water, wastewater, stormwater, roads, bridges, sidewalks, recreational facilities, and development charges is one of the few alternative opportunities that municipalities have outside of taxing their existing residents to build that infrastructure to service growth. So I don't think it's unique that I have this fear that reducing puts a burden on someone else. I hope I'm early to the game and that the province has additional information that will follow some of these changes that we're seeing, or proposed changes that helps fill the gap. I think this municipality has done a good job in trying to allow for growth in a controlled manner that makes sense to a community of our size. We have not been subject to initiatives and housing targets, but we're still seeing growth in our municipality. But development targets has helped to offset some of the costs. So I'm not exactly sure what direction this will end up taking, but within the conclusion of the report, I tried to raise some concerns that I have as it works.
Any questions from council? Andrew?
Thank you, Chair McDermott. You're getting off lucky. I misplaced my notes. I had to pry them out of my brain here. So so is there has anybody seen, like, with this new push for housing, any target for obviously each region and jurisdiction is going to be different, but is there a minimum, like a value for a single family detached, for example, that that's been put out there? Like, is there anything that will actually point to affordable housing?
As it relates to actual price points?
Yes.
No, nothing that I've ever seen.
It seems to come late in the conversation, well after basically the real estate listings up, right?
Yeah, I think there's lots of rhetoric as it relates to attainable, affordable housing. But again, to your point, that means different things to different people. And it's tried to have been captured in the new official plan. But it's basically geared towards number of housing units, with the assumption that by creating density, you're going to reduce prices. That's a factor. I don't dispute that, but it's not the only factor. And there are costs associated with density too that don't go away. There's still wastewater infrastructure, everything else associated with building density still has to be paid for by someone and somewhere. But yeah, as it relates to the actual cost of units that meet some definition of attainable units.
Has there been any talk of healthcare and all the other soft services that support growth? Any hospitals being built in the area, or doctor engagement to get new doctor recruitment, or has there been any of the backstory that anybody's heard of in staff? Or?
Nothing that I've heard of.
Sorry, I'm kind of reeling from still going through the mayoral changes, but I did have a chance to go through some of the Great Links here. So there is one part that is asking about is talking to provinces proposing reducing standards for building components. So I know with like the engineered trusses and the tragedy we've had with fire and that, I'm wondering how that's going to be rolled out, or is it clear yet how all that's going to be rolled out? Because we want to make sure that all the buildings are built here are going to last forever, basically, is what you're shooting for.
Yeah, I like you, Councillor, saw Bill 5, there was some pieces in there as it relates to building code, and I think there's some trying to comply it from a national standpoint or build national requirements as opposed to just within the building code. But yeah, I don't have anything further on that particular item. I know there's an additional report of the county council that delves a little bit further into Bill 5 in particular. But a lot of the stuff is, yeah, we're all trying to catch up and understand what it actually means and what implications it would have on the building code and materials associated with that.
No, that's something that I think should be made public when that's finalized. So developers, this is a question I know the answer to already. What do developers and landowners develop?
Is that a question?
Yeah, sure. Anybody wants to answer.
I'm not a developer, but my impression is that most developers are in the business of making money to a certain degree. They don't necessarily. Private developers, are paying their own bills, so it's not a social aspect for them.
Yeah. So any pre-consultations, nobody ever said I'm trying to better the world and provide housing for our youth.
I would say that developers are thoughtful in that they know there is a demand for housing, and that I think the developers that we are working with are looking at the demographic in the area and try to build housing that suits the needs in the area. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think we're all not naive to the fact that developers are business.
I just want to make sure. Thank you for the comment. And the last one is so it reads from the report and from the limited stuff that's available right now. So basically the assets in the ground, which is the taxpayers, will be funding the growth. It's in some way or shape or form, unless or direct, probably not sustainable, hopefully sustainable federal and provincial funding. Has there been any rollout of that?
Certainly there's been some talk as it relates to some funding opportunities, but again, we as staff have applied for funding. We have not been successful as it relates to funding to date. And yeah, I think I'm hopeful, and that maybe I'm being naive, that Bill 17 changes as it relates to development charge reductions, that the gap is going to be filled by the province and the federal governments, because they recognize that there are infrastructure demands associated with development. It's not a surprise to anyone. Reducing, our approach here has been and will continue to be that growth pays for build. It's not always an easy conversation with developers that come forward when we make that clear to them that we're not building on the backs of our current taxpayers. That's not the intent here, but it feels like the pressure from the province is sliding in a different direction than what our main focus has been.
And I think just one final question. So to confirm, I think you spoke about it briefly. There's been no target set or quotas for this area. I know I've asked multiple county officials and MPPs, and nobody said there's a target or any expectation for rural Ontario, specifically Perth East and Perth County for these.
Yeah, at this point, we have not been established a housing target by the province. We do have population estimates that are built into the official plan, and part of the Bill 17 changes are suggesting that population growth will be established by the Minister of Finance, that those will be built into, so they will have a little bit more direct, I guess, alignment in terms of establishing what the population targets are. But at this point, no, we have not been given those targets.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No. Okay. That the Council of the Township of Perth East received the report prepared by the Chief Administrative Officer Manager of Financial Services, Treasurer, and Manager of Building and Planning dated June the 3rd, 2025, entitled Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act, CAO 2025 008 for information. Moved by Amanda, seconded by Jeremy. All those in favor? Okay, that's passed. Okay, and give Ashley a second. And go ahead, Ashley.
Okay, thanks, Deputy Mayor. So the first report is a Section 78 request from landowner Menno Peters. He's looking to close in a portion of the top half of the Schultz Municipal Drain. So this is just for council to receive for information. If council's in support, we'd send the notice to the Conservation Authority tomorrow by the end of the week, and then there's a 30-day period for their comments. So we'd be looking to appoint an engineer at the July 15th. And I can try to answer any questions if there's any.
Any questions? Okay. That the Council of Township of Perth East received a request for repair and improvement, Section 78 of the Drainage Act by property owner Menno Peters for the Schultz Municipal Drain, Lot 1, Concession 15, Alice Ward, Township of Perth East, for information, and that further that in accordance with Section 78 /2 of the Drainage Act, that appointment of an engineer will be considered at the July 15th, 2025 regular meeting of council, sequent to the notice advertising of the proposed drainage works being sent to the Secretary Treasurer of the Conservation Authority that has jurisdiction over the lands in the affected area. Moved by Jerry, seconded by Amanda. All those in favor? Okay. And then Ashley has another update on the Strong Mayor Powers budget timelines.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. So staff did receive a directive from the mayor on May 28th, which directed the CAO and Manager of Financial Services / Treasurer to prepare the budget in accordance with past practices and present the draft budget to the mayor prior to the end of the day on November 21st, 2025. For distribution by the mayor to council by the end of the day on December 1st, 2025. So that has stemmed from the changes in the strong mayor power, which came into first start of May. So on page 2 of the report, or 154 in the package, is the proposed budget timeline. So staff have taken a look at the budget process, how it historically has been, and have tried to come up with a timeline that works with the mayor's directive and also her wishes with having council still involved in the budget process. It just looks a little different, being as it's the mayor's budget now. This year is the timelines proposed just for the 2026 budget. Next year, as most know, is an election year, so that will look different as well. And I don't have enough direction from the province and others of what that looks like for the budget process. So this is just looking to approve this timeline for the 2026 budget, and then the 2027 budget we need to be looked at next year. As part of the motion as well, we are looking to reduce the timelines, the legislated timelines, to a shortened time frame to approve the budget kind of in line with the dates that it had been approved previously. So last year or this year for 2025, the budget meetings had happened in November and December, and then the final approval of the budget happened in January of 2025. So this shortened timeline does have the budget approved if everything flows to how this is, if that's no vetoes or amendments, that sort of thing happens. So if the proposal carries on the way it is in the report, the budget would be approved December 16th. And in the report, I did not include in the timeline, and apologies, I should have included that right in the report, but the dates for the legislated timeline with working in Christmas and New Year's, the council amendment period for 30 days would have the date as December 29th. The mayoral veto period would be January 10th. And the council veto override period would be January 27th. So the budget for 2026 wouldn't be approved until the end of January. 2026 if the proposed legislated timeline stays as is. So that would be not going with the recommendation. That makes sense. But I will try to answer any questions if there's any, and our person to us and Michael can try to answer any questions.
Does council have any questions? Jerry?
Did we not change? We're not changing July 8th.
Got changed back.
Yes, so that was, we were looking to see if council was available for that date to try to make the timelines work. So there is internal timelines as well that aren't listed in the report, but deadlines that the treasurer needs to meet. So we have asked to go back to July 8th. We also are going to be under construction in this office. So it'd be a little out of sorts for having a meeting at the end of July.
Any Jeremy? Go ahead.
December 9th, the mayoral veto period. So the mayor's the one that's presenting the budget or building the budget with staff. So what are they vetoing here if they're, so I understand having a council override veto period, but what would the mayor be vetoing if she's presenting the budget, creating a budget?
So if there is an amendment proposed by council, then she could veto that proposed amendment. So she has a veto period for anything that, any changes that could come forward from council, which is legislated at 10 days, and the recommendation is to move it just to 1 day.
To me, veto means that it's already there. We're proposing it, then I guess that's the word. Legislation.
Yes, that is the wording from the legislation.
Okay, Andrew?
Thank you, Chair McDermott. Just so what, since we're talking about it, what does the council amendment period and council veto override look like as far as process? How does that work? Is it a piece of paper under a rock somewhere, or like how does that, is it need of a council meeting? Having trouble accessing our county, our council, but it looks like we have a couple meetings there. If we go on the first, or what date is it? The 2nd of December and the 16th. Not sure whether that's actual or not, but is it a council meeting that's needed, or is it, do we know what the process is? Yeah.
Yeah, we would look to have council members submit similar to like a notice of motion, like what their notice is of what they want to have amended. And then we would look to take it to a council meeting as well. So that would be the December 6th council meeting. If there is one, we tried to line it up with current council meetings the best that we could. But if there is one that comes in after that council meeting, then we may have to call a meeting, or the mayor may look at it and decide to not move forward with the amendment as well.
Alrighty. Thank you.
I just wanted to add to that. I sat in on a session with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and that was the kind of the question about, a lot of the veto period requires actual voting. And the question was, does that have to happen in the form of a meeting? Are we dealing with emails being sent in? What does that look like? And basically the response at this time from ministry staff is figure it out. Whatever works for you from a procedural standpoint is whatever will work. So there are still a number of, I would say, questions as it relates to how this is going to work. What we've tried to do is acknowledge that it should happen in a formal council meeting session if there are those and things of that nature, and that's the timelines. But I think even the ministry staff are kind of still trying to look at all the permutations as it relates to the budget process. And hopefully there'll be some further guidance, but at this point, our intent is to try to keep it as formal as possible so that votes around those changes, if they move forward, will be happening before.
Andrew?
Thank you, Chair McDermott. Sorry, so as I understand, again, I haven't read everything yet. I'm on my own team, so it takes a while. So is there any, like, there has to be a minimum amount of people support a mayor el veto? Is that correct, or am I reading that a little bit wrong? Like, there has to be, what is it, 33% or something? There has to be two, in our case, two out of.
Yeah.
So it's not a slam dunk if there's something that's not.
Yeah, it
It
would
still
have
needs
to-
to go through a process.
Yes, and it would be 3 of the council members now. Veto period changes, or yeah, it's changed to 1 year.
So final question, is this like a bylaw that we can, or whatever, a resolution that we can change if we need to massage the timelines a little bit, or once it has to be submitted to the province, or?
It doesn't have to be submitted to the province. This is what staff has proposed, and the mayor has reviewed it as well. She is on the line now, so that's a step. This is trying to mirror the capital and operating budget PowerPoints that the Budget Advisory Committee would have previously seen. So in discussions with the mayor and the treasurer and the CAO, we tried to make it flow the most similar way we could to the current budget process. How it stands right now in legislation, we don't have to have any of those meetings. The mayor could propose a budget and present it, and then the clock starts after it's been presented, and the veto periods at that point in time. So this is trying to accommodate past practices and the direction from the mayor.
And the final date required by the province for a budget to be submitted or to be finalized.
Yeah, so if a council or mayor does not present a budget by February 1st of that year, then it reverts back to the policies that you have already in place. So given that the budget process for Perth East is usually approved by February 1st, that's where this proposal came from.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Bob, go ahead.
So do these changes require amendments to our procedure bylaw or our rules of council that we have stipulated? Because this is contrary to what you might read in other documents that somebody is trying to figure out. Our province seems to be kind of undemocratic.
So we have talked specifically about the budget policy, and at this point in time, we have opted to not bring forward the budget policy to make the final amendments, given that it is a new power for all of us that we're dealing with here. So the staff are viewing it that the budget timeline, specifically if this report is approved tonight by council, then council can consensus for the 2026 timeline. So we will not be bringing forward proposals or proposed changes at this point in time to the budget policy. It does make it a little bit confusing for the public and staff, so if you get questions, just send them our way so we can try to address them the best that we can. The procedural bylaw is another one that's not specific here, but that has been talked about as well. And there's no proposed changes at this point in time. But we are still reviewing if we need to bring forward bigger changes to policy and bylaws.
Any other questions? Okay. That the Council of Township of Perth East received the report prepared by the Manager of Legislative Services, Municipal Clerk, and Manager of Financial Services Treasurer dated June 3rd, 2025, entitled Strong Mayor Powers, CLE 2025-018, FIN 2025-011 for information, and that the council reduce the time period as set out in subsection 7.3 of OReg 530/22 to pass a resolution making an amendment to the proposed budget timeline from 30 days to 15 days, and further the council reduce the time period as set out in subsection 7(1) of OReg 530/22 to override the head of council veto of an amendment to the budget, proposed budget from 15 to 6 days. Have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Amanda, seconded by Jeremy. All those in favor? Nothing from finance, and now we get to public works. Take it away, Jake.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor McDermott. The report tonight covers water, wastewater capacity reserve update, which was completed as part of the master plan update being completed by PM Ross. I'll try to summarize this as best I can. The process involved in assessing the existing existing service demands with the rated capacity of each facility established through the ministry, either by a permit to take water for the water side or environmental compliance approvals for wastewater. The remaining capacity was then calculated in terms of equivalent residential units, or ERUs, which simply put is the servicing demand of a single detached home. So that's up there. So starting with Milverton, you can see the existing capacity is 260 ERUs for water and 416 for wastewater. Over the past several years, developments have started construction but have not yet been completed. In the chart, these are highlighted under development commitments, which are basically developments that have been approved through means such as a subdivision agreement. So completion in Milverton of those commitments is anticipated to utilize 152 ERUs for both water and wastewater. This will bring the remaining capacity or uncommitted reserve to 108 and 264 ERUs for water and wastewater respectively. Just to highlight for council, it was or is challenging to try to project the consumption within the PERCON development, as obviously it's an unknown as to what businesses will end up in there. Guidelines suggest using a very conservative approach, looking at acreage, but us staff and BM Ross try to use a more site-specific estimate, which we still feel is conservative. Really, the true allocation of that PERCON development won't be known until everything is complete and some data is collected on the usage itself. So next, we took a look at various development proposals that have been discussed with staff through various means such as pre-consultations rather. These are listed as development proposals in the chart, and these developments have not been formalized through an agreement at this point in time. So for the purposes of this assessment, we essentially took the most recent conceptual plans and the number of units proposed and used those for this chart here. In Milverton, you can see if all of that proposed development was to go ahead, we would be overcommitted on the water system by 29 ERUs, while the wastewater we would still have 127. So that said, it's apparent Milverton's water supply will need to be increased to serve development now and into the future. Right now, staff are working on a replacement for well 4, which I've spoken about at a previous council meeting. In conversations with a hydrogeologist and a local well contractor, we're fairly confident we can get additional yield, but that won't be known until we can proceed with drilling there. So there'll be more to come on that, but we are optimistic that we can get more out of a new well there. Beyond that, it may come a time where we require an additional third well in Milverton, which will be looked at in more detail through the master plan update, which is ongoing. As for Shakespeare, the existing capacities were calculated to be 289 units for water and 124 for wastewater. Development commitments in Shakespeare, at this point, we only have the North Park of Shakespeare subdivision, which takes up 12 ERUs for both, bringing us to 277 for water and 112 for wastewater. Now, taking a look at the development proposals, it's fairly obvious that both water and wastewater systems would be overcommitted if everything that's listed there goes ahead as proposed. Similar to Milverton, at some point in time, it's likely a third well will be required in Shakespeare. And on the wastewater side, we would have to explore gaining capacity through likely an additional train at the treatment facility. And again, that's something that'll be explored in more detail through the master plan update. So it's fairly evident development is increasing in Perth East over the past several years. I think for staff and council alike, it's very good to be more informed on the state of the servicing capacities when we talk about, various developments that we encounter or that are proposed. So staff have actually developed a means to track capacity in-house in real time. And it's staff's plan to incorporate that into our annual infrastructure review process. And that will get brought to council annually to keep you guys in the loop. So I think there's probably one question looming over the group here, and that is who pays for these upgrades. I think that's a question being asked by municipalities across the country, as the push for development comes from the top down. I think there's a few means to fund these upgrades, which we'll explore in greater detail again through the master plan update. But one of those, which was touched on earlier, is of course development charges. That'll be crucial moving forward for funding these projects. Another approach would be to seek funding through provincial or federal grants. They've been seemingly more prevalent in recent years, such as the Housing Enabling Water System Fund. We've been looking at these opportunities and will certainly apply if it makes sense. I think one of the challenges of these funding opportunities is often the projects need to be shovel ready, so to speak, or further ahead in the planning process. And so that said, I think when the master plan is completed, it might be in our best interest to explore some design work earlier on so we can be able to apply for some of these grants. But again, that will get explored in more detail. I think one other thing to mention is it's fairly hard to try and project the pace of the development and plan far enough in advance to estimate future demands. It's become increasingly difficult with developers seeking expansion outside the settlement boundaries and even seeking MZOs, as council has been witness to. Other means of funding these developments can be through a direct contribution from a developer, or such as the Shakespeare Arsenic Project implementing additional connection charges specific to the growth portion. I think it's been stated over and over again, the goal certainly remains that development pays for development. And we're going to try to do that here. So if there are any questions, I will do my best.
Okay, any questions from council? Andrew?
Yep, thanks, Chairman. Sorry, you're like, you're lucky I didn't have my list. I left it on the table. So I appreciate the report. Is this part of the master plan work that's being done? Okay, I'm just wondering, I didn't find this in the budget, so it's part of the master plan. It's good to see this, this level of detail. So in the report from yourself, Jake, it talks about the bottleneck is the future updates. The bottleneck is in the new filtering system that's being installed. So we know that the Trident Group has been working with Perth Easton pre-development for a number of years now. I'm wondering, is there a reason why that wasn't factored in besides that? Is it just cost? Is it timing? Why that would be the bottleneck that now needs to be, it's going to be put in. Like, it looks like they got the materials out there now. So, is it expandable? Is there a plan B? It needs to be done. It's a health and safety concern, but it's with the numbers, especially with the Trident Group blows it out of the water, right? So I'm just wondering, what the plan for that is, if there is a plan yet, or will that come up in the master plan for filtering?
Yeah, through you, Deputy. I think that facility was designed at a time, it's been going on for several years. I don't think that staff were privy to that information of Trident. At least I wasn't at that point in time several years ago. That system was designed for the water supply that exists now in Shakespeare. The only way it will become a bottleneck is if we have to put a third well in because we require additional supply. And again, I spoke to it briefly. I think it's really hard to project developments. There's tire kickers at times. You don't know how the process is going to go, whether these are going to come to fruition or not. It's really challenging to project that far, but ultimately, I think there's always potential to expand. Filtration is one of those things that can be done easily, but it's often costly. So that's something we're going to look at now, knowing this through the master plan process.
Yeah, no, the Trident Group kind of blows it out of the water, and this is only the first stage because they're looking at their presentation was the OPA is going to be 3 times bigger, maybe possibly. So,
just if you don't mind, the numbers that are here are greater than what council saw in the presentation. This was through the pre-consult. These are the numbers that were provided to us at that point.
So how many acres, how would a percentage of the total 90 acres is that?
I can't speak to the size. I'm not sure Mike, if you would know that. I don't know if this is the entirety of that development either, but I know it's a much larger portion than what you guys have seen.
Yeah, I was going to speak to this, if that's okay, through the chair. Part of the challenge we have as a staff and as the engineers, the Trident Group has come forward. Yes, they went to county council and asked for expansion of the settlement boundary as part of the official plan update, and we're told no. So for us to go back to BM Ross and say, well, they're probably going to get approved, let's start spending money on designing more, is a risk that I was not willing to take. They're trying to have a lot of steps in order to get approval. That it's too far for us to speculate at that point in my mind. They've come forward, that's great. They're outside the settlement boundary, that's not great. They're talking about converting ag lands into residential development, not great. So they have a lot of hurdles to jump through, in my opinion, and that's why we want council to see this from an awareness standpoint, because yeah, there are bottlenecks that exist within the servicing standpoint, and Trident is the big number there. But we also have challenges in Milton as well, and these are things that do happen, and that's why when we're approving draft plans, council sees there's always a clause in there that says we must confirm available services, and that puts the onus back on staff to confirm that they are here. We are very transparent with all the developers around the bottlenecks that exist. because we want them to be there too. And our approach with them is, we're not funding these bottlenecks, you're funding these bottlenecks until something does it. Trident's numbers have changed. These heritage homes have changed, their numbers change, they look, draft plan is just that, a draft plan. They come back with different numbers, and that's why we're trying to his credit, or his team are trying to keep on top of the numbers as best we can, but it's almost on a weekly basis where one of these draft plan approvals will come back and say, well, what about 65 as opposed to 55? Reads, they're talking about double that 57. So we're trying our best, and our engineers, they take their direction from us. And when they're doing master planning, the typical process is to look at settlement boundaries and master plan within the settlement boundaries. But that's thrown out the window in that part. It just is, because there's been so many applications come forward in Perth County in particular that are outside the settlement boundaries that end up have gotten approved, which means you have to extend services. So it's the chicken and egg situation. Do we go ahead assuming the likes of Trident are going to be approved and that our boundaries in both Wolverton and Shakespeare are going to expand through the master planning process? We can, but there's a cost associated with that. And if we do it and the development doesn't happen, then we've got excess capacity, creates operating issues in a lot of circumstances. You can build homes that are oversized. So it is a real struggle. And so you have to be cautious about how far you go. But I think it is important that we talk about this and that these numbers exist and that if council, county, and local purpose council approve of it.
No, thank you. Yeah, the Trident thing sure is a interesting situation. Manager Collins spoke about briefly outside and yourself outside the settlement area. I can't really see there's any scenario, my personal opinion of paving over 100 acres of farmland. So if you want to take that to them on my behalf, that'd be fine. Maybe I'll call them. I don't know. So anyway, thanks very much.
Any other questions? Bob, go ahead.
Trying to put this in an email and I just don't know how to do it. I'm not sure I'm going to articulate it well enough, but is there a way to communicate to a developer that that's a great plan you have, but you're going to be on the hook for this expansion and not always leave it as it is? Because I could come and use up an existing capacity and the next person has to come in and pay a lot more. So those developers are always looking for a cheap build. Some of the lands in Milverton and Shakespeare have been on the books probably from the 80s and 90s, right? And nothing has ever happened. And some of them still won't happen. But that would have been a cheap lot to develop in the 80s or 90s. It's not now. The development charges are changing, but the problems that it really puts a bonus on the taxpayer. So there a formula where you can say we need to have X amount of capacity, and if Trident comes in, you just say, well, that's your full cost. It's not. Is it? Am I trying to make sense here? We got it, Mike?
Yeah, I think so. The chair, I think, yeah, we saw a planning proposal tonight within Milverton. That's land has sat there for years and years and years. There's a parcel in Shakespeare that has sat for years and years and years that's within the settlement boundary. The developers quickly come to terms with that and grasp that and say, well, I want to jump the queue. I want the capacity. I'm coming. I'm gonna develop. Believe me, right? But we have taken the approach with BMROS that we always look at servicing within the existing as the priority, existing settlement boundary as the priority. And then if you want additional capacity, that's additional capacity at your cost. That's our approach. It has not scared away the likes of Trident. That has been the conversation with them, and they still want to come in front of this council and say, we would like to come. We believe there's a market, we can build a product that we like. That's been their approach. They know there is a cost, but they will challenge us saying, well, that development on Sackville Street will never happen. Why are you sitting in the capacity for them? Now, the other part around this, Councillor, is that the province has now made changes within the Planning Act that draft plans of subdivision do have a timeline associated with it. But a lot of the ones that exist here are grandfathered. There's no real appetite. And every once in a while, they will, the likes of the Lange Group that own that property in Shakespeare, will, their head will pop up and say, yeah, no, we're still here. Don't ignore us. Because when we looked at the official plan and the settlement boundaries, we tried to actually shrink out some of, I tried, at least in terms of conversation with the planning staff, and it's just not something. So it is, again, it's the chicken and the egg, and who gets there first is part of it. There are municipalities that are currently being sued by developers who had draft plan approval and they ran out of capacity. So there's a lot of pressure on us to get it right from a service standpoint. But we don't know. Yeah, Trident Group they've developed thousands of properties. That's weird, but does that mean they are coming? I don't know. I wouldn't bet on it. Only because I'm not willing to invest millions and millions of dollars just for the sake of it. They're going to have to be invested. Sorry, in terms of the voter trust.
Any other questions? Just one, Jake. The ERUs, they're not, you don't consider that a peak flow, right? That's kind of an average flow.
Yeah, correct. That's an average there for both water, wastewater that's used. Yeah.
Okay. That the Council of the Township of Perth East received the report prepared by the Manager of Public Works dated June the 5th, 2025, entitled Water and Wastewater Reserve Capacity Update PUB 2025-016 for information. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Andrew, second by Bob. All those in favor? Okay. No finance, or sorry, building and bylaw, parks, fire, down to correspondence now. And we have a letter from the Perth County Federation of Agriculture. Is there any questions or anything anybody'd like to say? Andrew?
I thought I saw in the emails there was a second letter. Did that get added to the agenda? I don't think so. Oh, next agenda. Okay, thank you.
No questions or anything? Oh, Jerry, go ahead. Yep. That the Township of Perth East Council received the correspondence from the Perth County Federation of Agriculture regarding the PCFA's position on urban expansion for information. And that was moved by Jerry and seconded by Amanda. All those in favor? Okay. The second piece of correspondence is from Becky Westman regarding approval for the use of the township roads on June the 21st, 2025. Is there any questions from council on that? Nope. Can I have that the Township of Perth East Council received the correspondence from Becky Westman regarding approval for the use of township roads on June the 21st, 2025 from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. from the Perth East Recreational Complex to the G2G Trail for information, and that council approved the use of township roads on June the 21st, 2025 from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. from the Perth East Recreational Complex to the G2G Trail for a bike ride fundraiser for the Canadian Cancer Society as follows: from Perth East Recreational Complex parking lot to Pearson Street to West Street to Glen Street to Mill Street west to the G2G Rail Trail, and that the event organizer provide proof of 5 million with the Township of Perth East as the additional insured. Could I have a mover and seconder for that? Oh, sorry. Go on.
Like, we're being given notice.
Becky, go ahead.
I can answer. The G2G trail group is asking for this confirmation from the townships for the use of the roads. Okay, to use the county, the township roads. I'm not sure. It also is because it's also because we cross roads. The trail crosses roads, so I also check. Yeah.
I mean, this happens all the time.
I wonder if it wouldn't be something from just liability. Oh, go ahead.
This request did come forward last year too, so I think like throughout Moncton, like all the way from Milverton where it starts to where it ends, the G2G started asking if there's organized runs or bike rides or walks that the groups put on, or the groups ask for insurance, and then maybe the townships insure additional.
And also pay them like $250.
Through the chair, sorry. I do believe that other municipalities or county started to ask for this, and G2G took it as being good stewards to sort of flying it across. I'm not gonna name names, but I believe other municipalities and other counties have started to say with this amount of people, that they want to see some liability coverage associated with it, and G2G took it to heart, and now it's more broad.
Right? Like, it's gonna keep happening. So because it's not on the G2G, like, okay. The G2G is demanding that you have coverage and tell us about it, which doesn't really sit well with me. And it's a whole bunch of extra money spent by user groups that are fundraising that could be going somewhere else. Anyways, I'll stop.
Oh, Rhonda, do you have something?
Through you, I was just going to add, these are public roads. I don't think we can say they can't use them, but I'm having trouble hearing everything that's going on. I missed the part about the insurance. Like, we don't put insurance on G2G. We have nothing to do with it. So that's up to them. Because they lease it from the province, not us. So I think this is more of a courtesy, is it not, of them telling us they're having an event and when it's going to be? And so we're aware of it. I don't think we need to approve it.
Becky?
It's also so that I as the organizer of the event, I am insured when my participants are using the township roads. So it's a liability issue, so that I'm getting insurance, I'm purchasing insurance that covers the township. If anything were to happen as they drive down Milk Street, I'm getting insurance to cover if anybody wipes out as they're along the G2G trail as well. So it's covering everybody.
So similar to a parade, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Kind of a mover and seconder for that. Moved by Amanda, seconded by Bob. All those in favor? Carried. There's the mayor's meeting log, and at the next meeting, I guess if there's any questions, you can ask Rhonda. Or, no, I guess Rhonda's here, so if there's any questions for Rhonda on her mayor's log. Okay, and then if anybody would like to make a report on any committee or anything that they sit on or anything. Oh, Jerry, go ahead.
Jeremy can help me with this one. We had an informal talk and I wasn't able to attend with the beautification committee. Not sure where we're at with that. Maybe back to council or whether it's concerned with some of the committee members, on their time and moving on. That should go back at some point. Yeah, the council.
Committee and the funding for it, and historically it's come from what the interest from the old Milverton Hydro, I think, and that's ceasing to exist. I think they squeeze it out till the end of next year, the end of 2026 maybe, or the end of 2025, yeah, end of this year. So we just they approached us to have a conversation about the future of that group and how to fundraise for that, and I'm sure once we get a better handle on it, something will come back to council.
That the mayor's log dated May 2025 and for verbal reports by members of council, county council as follows, and be received for information purposes. And can I have a mover and a second? Moved by Jerry, seconded by Jeremy. All those in favor? Okay, that's passed. We have no bylaws. Any notice of motions? Seeing none. And if there was any other business, Andrew?
Yeah, for an announcement, somebody we all know is sitting at the table here is celebrating their 70th birthday today. So congratulations on making it to Chair McDermott, making it to that ripe number. So.
Okay. And no ice cream. What's wrong with you people? Thank you for that. Yeah, what a day. Went to work in the morning, have council at night, and come in and I gotta run everything. Like, geez. Yeah, we have no closed session. We have no business arising. Excuse me, the conformatory bylaw. That bylaw 27/2025 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of Township of Perth East at its every regular meeting held on June the 3rd, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time, and that would be moved by Amanda. Second by Jerry. All those in favor? Thank you. And that the meeting of council be adjourned at 8:38 p.m. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Amanda, seconded by Bob. All in favor? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for making it easy on